Okay, everybody, welcome to week 5 of Healthcare Business Informatics 110. I'm your instructor, John Branner, and I'm just going to take a quick look back at what was due last week. And last week we had CA number 2, which was the HBI history, and then quiz number 2, which had 10 questions over 30 minutes. And I'm sure if you watch those videos and at least look towards the end of those videos that you found the questions and the answers that you needed to answer and be successful in the quiz. And that's kind of the way I do it going forward as well. So one of the things I want to look at is what's coming up. This is recorded on Sunday, so you're not going to see this week 5 information until Monday. But the video is watch this video that I'm producing now, and then DA3, which is meaningful use. And so meaningful use, the full description is there. What you want to do there is be sure to answer the questions first, and then once you answer those questions, go ahead and post them into the discussion board. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and get to the presentation. Alright, so we're talking about the implementation section of the syllabus, where we have implementing healthcare IT. And when you think of healthcare IT and implementation, you kind of need to think of it from a project management perspective. So in a lot of places they are either upgrading their electronic medical records, installing new medical records, adding modules or adding software to their medical records, and all of this requires some knowledge of the implementation aspect of it. So we're going to look at some of the project management and how PMI, how PMI is the Project Management Institute, how they approach this this part of the project. But so today we're going to look at what an electronic medical record looks like, because this is a problem that we see in a lot of people that go into the field have never seen a medical record. So, and the sources that we have are very limited, because medical records are typically live and they have live information, and because of HIPAA regulations we normally don't get access to them. So there are a couple of records out there. If you Google medical records or electronic medical records and the images, you'll see some images of medical records, but they're still not that helpful. So I've got a source for you. It's an open source EMR, but it's last week it wasn't functioning properly. This week it looks like they've got it working again, but it looks like they lost a lot of the data. So it may help you a little bit, especially as we get further into the class. And if you want to look back and see what a medical record looks like, we'll take a quick look. All right, so PMI is the Project Management Institute, and they use a thing called the Project Management Book of Knowledge, and they have the 5 phases of project management, which are the initiation phase, the planning phase, the execution phase, the monitoring and controlling phase, and the closing phase. So we're going to talk about those. And then other considerations for healthcare IT implementation. RFP or RFI, the hardware, software, and training and rollout or go live. So for the EMR, if you want to see an EMR, I've created a link. It's https demo.openemr.io/openemr. All right, and I'll post the links on Blackboard for you so you can get to it easier that way. And I'll give you the username and password so you can see it. I'm going to take a quick look at it. And the username is admin. The password is pass, I believe. So we'll take a quick look. And like I said, last week they had some problems with it, and there seems to be not a lot of information left since they did an upgrade or fixed it. But you can kind of nose around in there and get some ideas about patient information. It may take them a little bit of time to get their information repopulated, but you can go in and put information in if you want. There's different types of providers, configurations. See, at this point, even the providers aren't listed, so it's been kind of a problem over the past week or so. But give them some time. They usually they'll get it back in order for you, and it'll be one of the best resources that we have. All right, so the project. Let's talk about the project. The first part of the project is the initiation phase. Initiation phase is where you're collecting all the ideas, you're pulling things together for a project, and think about it all in terms of an electronic medical record. Okay, so you got this idea that, hey, we need to, our objective is to go ahead and implement a medical record. How are we going to do it? How are we going to pull our stuff together? This usually starts with a project charter and the project initiation portion, where you get all the key stakeholders together and decide how it's going to happen and what you're going to do. The second phase is the planning phase, which has the project definition. It contains the scope and the budget, the work breakdown schedule, Gantt charts, communication plan, and risk management. The execution phase is the part where they track the status. They have KPIs, do quality and forecast. And then performance and control, they have quality deliverables, and you're making adjustments to everything that's happening throughout the execution phase. So the execution phase and the control phase are kind of overlap, but they are two distinctly different phases. And then the close. And one of the things we'll talk about is the post-mortem and the end of the project, because there are lessons learned, and you want to keep track of those lessons so that the next project you go into, you can be more successful at it. So that initiation phase that we start as number one. It's to start a project, and it's to define the project at a broad level. So usually begins with a business case. You do all your research, get everything together, and get all your key stakeholders together. All right, the planning phase. This is probably the most important phase of any project, and it's important because you should spend the most time in this phase than any other phase of the project. If you're not planned out properly, you're going to have problems from that point forward. So they do spend a lot of time in the planning phase, and when you have adjustments that need to be made, this planning phase can be revisited and adjusted accordingly. So this is the point where the work breakdown schedule is created. This tells everybody what they need to do and when they need to do it. All right, so that's the planning phase. The third phase is the execution phase. This is where everything starts. This is where the entire thing begins, and it usually has a kickoff meeting. This marks the start of the project execution phase. So you might think that the kickoff meeting is in the initiation phase or the planning phase, but it's not. It's actually in the execution phase. It's kicking off the entire project. Fourth phase, monitor and control. This is about measuring project progress, and we'll use KPIs, or key performance indicators, to determine if the project is on track. And then the closing phase. This at the end of the phase of the closing phase, at the end of a project, a PM is project manager, will often hold a meeting, sometimes referred to as post-mortem, and it's to take notes and to bring some learning from the entire project itself and what could be done better in the future. So other considerations for implementing health IT implementation: one, the hardware. So if you're going to install a new system, you have to know whether or not the equipment that provider has is sufficient. Do they have the latest technology, or is their equipment outdated? Can it even handle what a new EMR requires as far as RAM or any kind of networking type devices? Are they going to go wireless? Are they going to go wired? Lots of issues to be considered in the hardware department. Software department, this is another one, because a lot of times they want to put new or different systems into to add or attach to a main system, and those softwares often do not communicate very well, and this may require an HL7 interface. Typically that's more money or more cost to the project itself, but if you have those skills, it could be a benefit to you. Next one, RFP or RFI. An RFP is a request for proposal, or the RFI is request for information, and this is where the organization that wants the work done sends out a request for proposal to other vendors to say, hey, we need something done, give us a proposal so that we can take a look at it and perhaps select you. So RFP or RFI, request for proposal. Fourth one is training and phased training. So if you're putting in an EMR, so let's say you've done the RFP and you've selected a particular company to work with, and you're going to put in this new electronic medical record system, you have to decide who's going to get training first. Who are you going to delay in order to get the training done? So, because it has to be continuous. You can't stop seeing patients just to do training. You have to continually see patients. So the best approach is to have phased training, where they get training on a mock system at first before they go live, which brings us to 5, the go live phase. So and the go live is also phased in, so that's something to keep in mind. All right, so here are some of the quiz questions, just like before. Number 1, what are the 5 phases of project management? The initiating phase, the planning phase, the execution phase, monitoring and controlling phase, and the closing phase. This is going to come up again later in the program, in the HBI program, and if you're in any type of business program, you're going to see this again somewhere down the road. Either you're going to be leading it or you're going to be a part of it, so it's good to know which part of the project you're in at which time, at any given time. So 5 phases of project management, that'll be on a test. 2, which phase includes a work breakdown schedule? The work breakdown schedule, if you'll recall, it was in the planning phase. That's where everything's set up. The idea has been put together in the initiation phase, and then the planning phase is where most of the organization is going to take place. Okay. 3rd question, which phase includes a kickoff meeting? If you'll recall, the execution phase, the kickoff of the entire program or the entire project. All right, number 4, which phase is the start of the project? This is the start. This is the initiation phase. It's where you're getting your ideas together and getting all your key stakeholders in place. 5, what does an RFP stand for? Request for proposal. That's it. Request for proposal. All right, so next we're going to be doing discussion activity number 3, which I already put up, so you have an idea. That's going to be about meaningful use. So go ahead and get your information together for meaningful use, and then study for the next quiz, which is going to be next week. So I'll have the 5 questions that I posed here today, and then the additional questions which are relevant to the quiz. So stay tuned, and I hope you have a great day. Thanks.